we've had the opportunity to have 2 episodes now, and we've had this nice balance of etchy, but not too fan servicey, and at the same time, a forward development of our story that I feel like I said last week. There's a whole cast of characters to get introduced to in this story, and we've had a few of them today, and I think that it's going to take off into definitely a personal growth story. Obviously, for I want to say for both main characters of Minami and Tsubasa, I feel like that's going to be something that we get. Obviously, with Tsubasa being a more personal development of a growth, while Minami is gonna more just enjoy things more and realize that things are great. And at the same time, I feel like we're gonna get some minor character development as well with Granny from what we see towards the end of the episode. But I'll save my major thoughts for this episode at the end of the video. Let's get into this episode here because I mean it's not a whole lot to unpack, but it's enough to unpack. We start this episode off kind of being a precursor to what's about to happen with with our main girl here, Minami, posing with this little snowman, and it's like got these little cute like space bun ears, and she's like holding it for like I wouldn't say an Instagram picture because she ends up sending it to Tsubasa later on in the episode. But we go to school the next day. I guess it's technically the previous day, and you know, our boy Tsubasa's looking at the poster for the winter festival coming up, obviously in Hokkaido, and with Minami being from this city, obviously she's been to this before, and showing that he expresses interest in it and asking if he wants to go, especially considering the fact that, any chance that these two can get together, she will take advantage of at this point in time. Not saying that they have that kind of relationship yet, but that's the vibes that we've been getting from this. And so he says he's gonna go, and so she pretty much, pushes her way into it, getting and saying that if you insist, I can go too as well. And so obviously it's pretty much a date, and so we get to see Minami in her house, and she's eating breakfast, with her mom and little sister, which we meet Mai and Momoko. And obviously none of them look like each other except for maybe her mom. She's got her hair type and her boobs, and then Momoko just kind of has the facial structure and eyes, but has pink hair, so you gotta have your pink haired girl somewhere in a series, right? Especially of this flavor. And so they're talking about what's gonna kind of happen this weekend and how dad's running late from work, which is kind of normal on weekends. So that's kind of explaining maybe slightly her lifestyle, how her dad's busy, working away, and the family's kind of deciding what they want to do with their weekend. And so the mom says, what are we going to do? Little sister wants to go to some other type of thing. And she says that she can't go to it because she's going to be going to the festival. And obviously the little sister's a little disappointed in that. However, the mother, says you haven't gone to that since you were a little kid. And obviously, they don't really pry into the reason why she's going to go, but she does say it's with a friend. And so we go back to our boy over here, and he's kind of checking out his phone, and Tsubasa kind of freaks out because he sees the picture that she sends to him with an emoji on top of it. And it's her from the beginning of the episode with the snowman, and her with the little cute heart kitsune emoji. And obviously he definitely feels like it's going to be a date, and we get these nice little Yu-Gi-Oh references into the mixture here. While he's thinking about this situation, it shows the life points in his name and how they're going down, completely down, and he tries to like boost himself back up because he doesn't want to like let his horniness and emotions take over him right off the bat. So he works his way back up from like 5,000 life points back up to 8,000 life points, and then we get to see Minami in her outfit, which is these nice, like, I almost want to say leather pants with the side twines on, and this nice red turtleneck sweater with a leather jacket and hat. And he's like really excited about this. And he gets the nice, like, Kaiba face from the very first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! And his life points completely diminished down, and it's absolutely hilarious, especially coming from being a avid Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan over the years. I couldn't help but laugh so hard at that type of fact. But she even like asks him if he thinks it's cute, and of course he thinks it's cute, and he covers his face, but still looking in the one eye, kind of like when your parents tell you to cover your eyes when you're watching a movie, and it's got some like grotesque scenes into it when you were younger. So it's got that, like, his innocence is like showing completely, and like that's something I feel like we're going to obviously get further down the series of why he's like that, but right now we don't exactly 100% know why. And so they get ready to go into there, and he's kind of like questioning how it's like, stone statue or snow statues and the food that's going to be there. And she's kind of worried about the fact that she doesn't think he's going to enjoy it because of how basic it is, especially with him being from Tokyo. But I don't think she realizes necessarily how much of a NEET he was, and how much like he didn't get to go out, and like he had no confidence in everything. So they get into the snow festival, and like we get to see some of the sculptures, and there's dragons and birds and unicorns and mythical creatures. He's pretty much taking it all in. And while he's taking it all in, and it all looks just absolutely gorgeous, obviously Minami is like, getting ready for him to be disappointed and wanting to go home. But he's clearly in a winter wonderland, and he's enjoying the living hell out of this. And so they start looking at all the art, and they look to go take a picture of it. Well, at least Tsubasa is going to. And Minami pretty much goes, no, we gotta take a picture like this. And so she grabs his arm, links it up, and takes like a selfie of the two of them together. And he was kind of just like in awe of just being in a selfie with her arm wrapped around him. So he gets this like almost dazed face going on, like he's almost like stoned, and she's got the perfect pose, and he wants her to delete it, but before she could like delete it, they're thinking about food. And so he gets in line to go get some food. And he goes to a corn dog stand, and I've never heard of this. Maybe this is like some like Hokkaido, like Japanese, like unpopulated regions, or like maybe it's even like a big, Japanese thing. I don't know. But he sees the kid in front of him and asks for sugar on his corn dog, and so he gets sugar on his corn dog as well, right? And so he gets back to her, and she's got this nice thing of I'm trying to think of what the hell she got, but it looks like 2 types of veggies and some like pork or chicken, one of the two. And she has to take a bite out of his corn dog, and so he lets her take a bite out of it without even thinking about it, and he feeds it to her, right? And of course, young relationships, high school, first timers, she's embarrassed by it, he's embarrassed by it, especially knowing that it's going to be an indirect kiss. So he has to work his way mentally to be able to do this, right? And so he ends up taking a bite out of it, and she could see it in his eyes and like his face, how he feels about it. And she even makes the quote about how like she wishes everybody was as easy to read as he was. And I think that has something to do along the lines of just like how innocent and non experienced in the world he is, granted, but it's still really cute. So they go on with the festival, and they're both building snowmen together, and they're having a really good time, and they get some drinks, and they're sitting at the table, and he's talking to her about how, he's only lived in Tokyo, so he wants to try the food, he wants to experience the culture, and he's really thankful for her coming today, and the fact that, he really had fun. Even though, right off the bat from there, Minami even expresses her fear about how she was worried about the day and how she was going to have fun because she hasn't been there since she was in elementary school. And we get a little flashback of her in elementary school, and it's just adorable with her little pink scarf and puffy jacket and gloves and little headband. Oh, adorbs. But all in all, her, worries of disappointment were for absolutely nothing, because obviously he enjoyed the living hell out of it, and she was just overthinking the whole situation. But she gets this, like, declaration about how the fact that when she's with him, she feels like she could love Hokkaido even more, and that, like, she might love her hometown. And just the fact that he's making her realize how great life is, and how, not bad her city is absolutely cute and adorable. And while she's celebrating this, she slips and almost falls. And our boy Tsubasa comes and slips and picks her before she can fall. And their arm, he's got her in his arms, kind of like the classic, like on the ground, like type of fall thing. And we get a close up of their two faces very close to each other, like they are very intimate and ready to kiss type of thing. But before they could do that, he gets up right away, apologizes for it, and whatever, it is what it is. But it's definitely a moment of high tension. So they're walking home, and he's talking about how he wants to do something with her again. And it doesn't really matter what it is. It could be anything. And, she kind of goes along the lines of, obviously that desperate. But, he just wants to enjoy time with her. He even mentions the fact that, like, even if somebody else is with, he doesn't care. He enjoys her company. And like I said, absolutely sweet. And we get into the second half of this episode, going with them, eating lunch together, and, like, she brings a cup ramen that I guess is a specialty to Hokkaido, and she wants to make it so he can try it, because he wants to try more Hokkaido, like cuisine, quote unquote. So she makes it, and it looks like it's, she puts the water in for 3 minutes, obviously, and she's got the yakiben, Chinese broth that I guess you put in a cup next to the side to mix it and then put it in. And, at first she's like commenting how it looks like it's junk food, but at the same time, he's obviously completely mesmerized and wants to try it. And while he's complimenting this, she's got this look on her face of absolute satisfaction as she picks some up with her chopsticks and feeds him, because she wanted to get payback from him feeding her and the last, obviously the winter festival. So they both have gotten to feed each other. And so we've got this cute little thing going on with the back and forth and the back and forth. And, she wants to see what's in his bento, because obviously, she doesn't know exactly what this guy eats and what he could have brought. And so she looks at it and completely is mesmerized, right? Like, even like claiming that, he's probably rich, and everything, because this is like something that she would prepare for New Year's. So obviously this is like a big deal, right? Like, this bento looks amazing. But she tries some of the pork off of it, and she's like in heaven, right? And she even like quotes the fact that she feels like somebody from heaven made this meat, right? And he gives the comment back of how his grandmother actually made it. And, while she's thinking about that and how delicious it is and painting her nails, he even says out loud that, that was the first time he had cup noodles, and how she's like introduced him to tons of firsts that he's had in his life. Like, obviously go to a girl's house, going to a convenience store even. And like, this is like the first sign we get. Like, obviously we kind of realized it, considering that, like, the choices he's made and where he was kind of from, and how he's kind of, nervous about, like, in the last episode about his family finding out. But we come to find out he's kind of a bougie rich boy. And so, like, even she comes to realization and points that out, right? And like, he's in denial about it and doesn't really think he's rich. But she asks if she can come to his house today, because obviously he's been to her house, and he's kind of hesitant about it. But even points out she had a lethal angle about it, because she, her cleavage was kind of hanging out, and he lost the war. So they're walking to his place, and they see a little igloo, or snow hut built in the snow on the ground over there. And so she climbs into it and asks for him to come inside. So she pulls him inside, and we get just like one of the most lewd scenes ever, right? Like your classic rom-com lewd scene, right? So he comes in there, and she, it's like, oh, it's really warm inside, isn't it? And it's so tight, and like too tight, I gotta pull out. Like, we get a full back scene, and like they're just clearly moaning like this in public in this tiny little snow fort, and he gets out of it right away. And of course, who's out there? It's grandma's out there, and she heard all of that. And like, obviously she's questioning all the immoral noises she's just heard inside of this igloo. And before you can even explain it, Minami comes out of the igloo and like latches onto his arm and tells him that he should have enjoyed his first time more because she knows what she's doing with him, and it's absolutely freaking hilarious, especially because I've been in that angle from like the opposite end where obviously it's fun teasing sometimes to a certain extent, but that's that good stuff. And so Grandma's kind of surprised, not knowing what's going on. But he introduces her, and obviously, she's complimenting Granny and how great the meat was, and like obviously Granny at first looks like she's really salty about the fact that she tried her food for some odd reason. Like she even has like a little vein in her forehead at first, and she takes the compliment though, and she asks what the relationship is, and this is where things gonna get rocky. I can tell, and they're more or less to the fact that you can see something's going on even more, and why he's afraid, and why he's kind of a pansy. Because he doesn't really want to tell his family anything because of like the consequences, I guess it feels like the judgment from them. And so like he kind of like just says that like they're school friends, and like they're not even friends, just classmates, which is a real blow to the dark, obviously, through all they've been through so far and everything she's done with him. And so she gets this really disappointed look on her face, and Granny says, they have a really important appointment and they got to get going. But while they're walking away, obviously, he even admits to himself how he's a big pussy, and that, he needs to start standing up for himself, and he's ruining the only relationship he really has right now, romantic or friendship. So before they can walk away, she comes up to point out that Grammy should put her umbrella away because her grandma, if I remember correctly, maybe not necessarily her grandma, but somebody older, slipped and fell holding an umbrella and was not able to brace their impact and actually broke their hip. So she puts her umbrella away and warns them, after asking for directions where their house is, that the sidewalk or the crosswalk to get to their house is probably covered in black ice, so they should take another way. So before they start, taking off on the trip, she tells Granny that, this is the least she could do with her delicious food, and she needs to take care of her hands, so she grabs all of Granny's stuff out of her hands. And while they're walking away, obviously they're like 4 or 5 feet in front of Granny, and he takes all of Granny's bags from her because obviously he's a gentleman to an extent. But he tells her, if she asks if she's mad, and why would somebody who's just a classmate get mad about it. And he even tells her, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Like, he kind of gives the gesture of it's his family situation, which I guess I think we're gonna find out here in the coming weeks. But whispers in her ear how he thinks of her as a very important friend. Air quotes. She gets this nice like wide-eyed blush, like clearly that means something, right? And we arrive at his house, and his house is just ginormous. Like she called it mansion for days. He's clearly rich and doesn't even realize it. And they get there, and before she could leave, Grandma offers her a cup of tea because this saved him time, and I think Grandma wants to get to know this girl more, especially if her grandson's gonna be hanging out with him, with how clingy this family tends to be. And we don't really know why yet. We don't know if it's his dad's business or her inheritance or something along those lines, where he's obviously raising a proper family, maybe something happened with mom, who knows. But we get in there, and she's like just so excited about it. Minami's just taking pictures everywhere, and he's kind of like freaking out for a second, and she's talking about how maybe Granny should worry about her after all, because she looks like trouble. But then she sees, this is actually pretty hard, like, really sweet. She sees Tsubasa's face with her, and he's got this really big smile and rosy cheeks, like he's just having a genuinely good time. And so she has this flashback of when he's a kid and how he wants to, get a good job and take care of the family and be a good man. And she's, really happy about that and complimenting him, and sees this smile on his face. And that's like the last time she remembers him smiling that much. And the fact that she sees him enjoying his company with her that much, that maybe she should put her trust in him with his judgment of character. You know what I mean? And I think that's really something small but really big step towards the future of not only him and his family, but him and her as well. I think that obviously Minami is going to learn a lot from him, and he's going to learn a lot from her, and it is just absolutely amazing. I love this kind of show, so simplistic but yet so awesome. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. We get to an after credit scene, and we get to see that they're going to be going on a ski trip next week. And obviously, he's got his girl Minami right next to him, but then in front of him is this character that we are going to be introduced to next week, with purple hair, and looks like they like to play mobile games. And that is going to be Sayori, and that's it. All in all, really good episode. We got to see, so like I said in the beginning, some horniness, but at the same time, things that are going to lead to other things to find out about him and the growth between the characters. Really good setup. Love the atmosphere that we got into it. Like I said, this kind of reminds me of like a more tame nagatoro, and I love that stuff. Eat it to death. Would recommend this. Hopefully it keeps getting better and better. Like, I am just amazed by it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. See if everybody else is as hyped as I am, or if anybody else has any, I guess, different perspectives of the episode or not. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It means a lot to me. And if you're feeling really generous, hit the subscribe button. Got more stuff coming up here. Really excited for this year and this season. But with that being said, this has been Squids. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.